Good morning. It is time to open this meeting of the San Angelo City Council. And how late am I? 6 or 7? 9:06. I'm not but 6 minutes late. We on schedule. We'll start this morning with prayer. David DeAnda, if you would come forward. He is the preacher, the pastor at the Oasis Baptist Church. He will open us in prayer. Stand as you are able, please.
Let's bow our heads and let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, once again, we just thank you for just allowing us to be in your presence today, Father. First and foremost, Lord, I ask that you would just preside over the city council meeting, Father. The decisions and the topics that we brought up today, Father, decisions would be made that would honor and glorify you, Lord. I ask that you would just be with each and every one of us here today, Lord, that the things that we would do, Father, in our daily lives would honor and glorify you, Lord. Be with each and every one of the council members, Father, that you would help them make wise and not hasty decisions, Father, ones that would honor and glorify you, Lord, and you just continue to preside over this meeting, and the topics and issues that are discussed, Lord, would be looked over in a fair manner, Lord. Once again, we just thank you for all the many blessings, Lord, and you continue to watch us, and we always ask forgiveness when we fail you many times, Father, that you would restore us back in your graces. And we ask all these things in your Son's holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, David. And now I would like to ask Shay West and J.C. West and David Bailey and Truett Bailey to come forward and lead our pledge for us. Good morning. Just get right in here. All right, let's face the flag and start us off. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Texas flag. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Wow. Thank y'all so very much. An excellent job, and every one of them knew it, and every one of them said it. Very good job.
Mayor?
Yes.
I think some of the parents wanted to take pictures with you and the kids.
Anybody want to take a picture? Okay. Come back up and let's take some pictures. I forgot. I'm old. You have to forgive me. Right over here. Come this way.
I love it. She's standing tall. That is our future.
Thank you. We do have a proclamation this morning, the American Heart Month, we received by Jamie Muth, and just the Working on Wellness champion. So if y'all would come forward at this time, I will read this proclamation. Good morning. Heart disease is the leading cause of death for both men and women in the United States. About 600,000 American deaths, or 1 in every 4, is caused by heart disease each year. An American has a heart attack every 34 seconds, and each minute an American dies from a heart disease-related event. Coronary heart diseases alone cost the United States $109 billion, that's with a B, $billion each year in health care services, medications, and lost productivity. Therefore, I, Dwayne Morrison, the mayor of the city of San Angelo, Texas, on behalf of the city council, do hereby proclaim the month of February 2015 as American Heart Month in San Angelo, Texas, and encourage the community in the support and participation of all citizens in learning more about their risk and staying heart healthy. Who's going to accept the proclamation and make the speech? Morgan?
Jamie? Thank you.
Yours, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I'm Jamie from the American Heart Association. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for doing this. This is huge and a big step for educating people in the San Angelo community. I just want to make a really quick announcement that this Friday is National Wear Red Day. So when you're getting up, getting dressed, make sure you throw on red. That would be great. And then all of February is Heart Month nationally. So we encourage you to visit our website and see the things that we have going on.
Thank you so much. Anybody else want to speak?
Yes, I
Go
do.
ahead.
Real quickly.
You're next. Get the microphone.
Okay, excuse me. I'm Mary Solomon, and I'm the Wellness Coordinator for the City of San Angelo employees. And with the WOW Committee, we have challenged each of the employees to participate this month in a 28-day Jump Start Your Heart Challenge, which starts off with 20 minutes of cardiovascular activity and ends at the end of the month. We'll be doing 42 minutes of cardiovascular, as well as some core strengthening. So we want to challenge all of the employees to participate in this.
Thank you. Who else? You making a speech, Morgan?
No, sir, not
Okay. Let's round here and let's take a picture. Did you get it, Jim? Yes, sir. Thank you. Next proclamation will be for the National Catholic School Week. Lacey Bailey, ASU School, the ACS School Board President, and Mia West, ASC School Board Secretary. Y'all want to come forward so I can read this to you? Good morning. Good to have y'all. Since 1974, the National Catholic Schools Week has been an annual event, building community awareness of and celebrating the high standards of excellence and the quality of education available to all students in Catholic elementary and secondary schools. This year's theme is Catholic Schools, A+ for America. As Catholic schools celebrate the fact that Catholic schools are an added value, A+ for the nation. Because of their strong moral values, Catholic schools give a high level of service, the A+ level, giving back to the community and helping others, and is instilled in every Catholic school student, giving them a strong academic and moral foundation, allowing them to succeed in life, serving in the government, industry, business, nonprofit, and education fields. Angelo Catholic School is grateful for those who sacrifice, pay a little extra, and go the distance so their children may learn in a place that honors our Lord. Now, therefore, I, Dwayne Morrison, the mayor of the city of San Angelo, Texas, on behalf of the city council, do hereby proclaim the week of January 25 through January 31, 2015, as National Catholic Schools Week, and encourage the community to pay tribute to the dedication and service of Angelo Catholic Schools as they celebrate over 120 years of presence in our city of San Angelo. Who get to make the speech? Both of you?
I'll defer to the president.
Thank you so much for proclaiming that, and we just really appreciate you having the kids here this morning, and we just think that at Angelo Catholic we are raising tomorrow's leaders and to be not only good leaders but strong Christian people with good moral values.
Thank you so much. What do you want us, Brian? I need a picture. Got it. Thank you all so very much. Anthony Wilson, Carrie Gamboa, Public Art Commission, come forward and let me read to you this proclamation. Winners of the Snaps Photo Contest. Hello, Anthony. Huh? Snaps. Snaps. There's an S on it.
Yes.
Okay. Snaps Photo Contest. For each of the past 2 years, the City of San Angelo Public Arts Commission has sponsored Snaps, a photography contest open to all amateur and professional photographers. The aim of the contest is to celebrate the visual arts and to promote the work of the Commission, which advises the City Council on the selection and the placement of art on public property that is owned or controlled by the city. This year's Snaps Photo Contest focused on, pun intended, the Riverfest, the annual celebration of the Concho River's Renaissance through downtown San Angelo. First place was awarded to Anthony Wilson, who happens to be the City of San Angelo's Public Information Officer, for a photo entitled "Ay Palominos."
Correct.
How about that?
Good job, Mayor.
Of Los Palominos fans shooting smartphone pictures of the band. Second place was awarded to Carrie Gamboa's photo of billowing argosy of dancing street performers dressed as pirates. Mr. Wilson also won the third place for his photo title, Bound, of a young boy navigating an inflatable obstacle course. All the honored photos will be displayed in the City Council chambers of the McNeese Convention Center through April the 15th. Therefore, I, Dwayne Morrison, the mayor of the city of San Angelo, on behalf of the city council, do hereby recognize and applaud Anthony Wilson, Kerry Gamboa, the Public Art Commission for their dedication and positive determinations to make a difference in our community. One for you. And one for you. And one for you. Who gets to make a speech? Come ahead.
Carrie first.
I'd just like to say that San Angelo is a great place to be an artist. There's a lot of artists here. So next time you think about putting something on your wall, check your local art community and see what they have to offer.
And I just briefly want to cede my time to my friend Alejandro Castañon, who is the chairman of our Public Art Commission.
So gracious of you, Anthony, to give up that spot. Thank you very much.
It was hard.
Yeah. Well, as the mayor stated, we are the Arts Commission. I'm the current chairman, and we're very honored to have our winners recognized today. And for those of you who are artists or know artists in the community, the Public Arts Commission does exist to help approve and recommend any matters regarding public art and their placement on city property. So if you have any questions about that, please visit the city website and visit the Arts Commission page, and or it's the Parks and Recreation page, excuse me. And you can find more information about how to submit or attend some of the meetings that we have for approving these matters. So thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
That all? That's it. Take a picture. Got it, Jim? Thank you. Miss Tina, come forward, please, ma'am. This next one is for Tina Bunnell. And we're recognized here as one of Lamar University's 40 under 40. Of Lamar University's tens of thousands of alumni, come up. Thousands of alumni under the age of 40, it recently singled out 40 of the most impressive graduates the university deems to be talented leaders, creative innovators, and successful game changers. That group includes the City of San Angelo's Finance Director, Tina Bunnell. Ms. Bunnell earned her bachelor's degree in accounting from the Beaumont University in 2006. While there, she presided over the Beta Alpha Psi Business Fraternity and the Lamar Accounting Society. Among the many honors she received upon her graduation were the Wall Street Journal Student Achievement Award and the Texas Society of Certified Public Accountants Accounting Education Foundation Award. After graduation, Ms. Bunnell earned her public accounting certification during her first year with the Big Four accounting firm, a rare feat in her profession. She also worked for the Department of the Army and the local firm of Eckert & Company before joining the city as our finance director in July 2013. Under Ms. Bunnell's leadership, the Finance Department has won awards from the Texas State Comptroller, the Government Finance Officers Association of the United States, and the Government Treasurers Organization of Texas, citing achievements in areas ranging from financial transparency to investment policy. Therefore, I, Dwayne Morrison, the mayor of the city of San Angelo, on behalf of the city council, do hereby recognize and applaud Tina Bunnell for being honored as one of Lamar University's 40 under 40 outstanding graduates and for her dedication to make a difference in our community.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tina.
Thank you, Mayor. It's shaky. It's certainly an honor to receive this award from my alma mater, and I appreciate the opportunity to serve the city of San Angelo, a city that I know and love. Thanks.
Thank you. Very welcome. Thank you, Tina. You got it, Jim? Okay. We have one more. Marianne Vasquez, please come forward. How about it? Marianne is retiring, and we're not real happy about it. Hi. I'd like to read this recognition in honor of Marianne. Marianne Vasquez epitomizes public service. Her high energy, creativity, and passion will forever be trademarks of her outstanding service for our community. She committed the last 21 years serving the city of San Angelo and our community in 6 positions, increasing in responsibility, including administrative assistant in the planning department from March 7, 94 to September 13, 98, executive secretary in the fire department from September 14, 98 to September 30, 99, programmer and marketing coordinator for the recreation department from October 1, 99 to September 15, 2002. Community Information Coordinator from September 16, 2002 to January 31, 2009. Assistant Recreation Manager for the Recreation Division from February 1, 2009 to July 15, 2011. And the Recreation Manager for the Parks and Recreation Department from July 16 to 11 to February 9 to 15. Therefore, I, Dwayne Morrison, the Mayor of the City of San Angelo, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby recognize and applaud Mary Ann Vasquez for her dedication and positive determination to make a difference in our community. Thank you, Mary Ann.
Thank you.
You want to make a speech? Make a speech.
I just want to say a few things is that I could never have done the 21 years without the staff that I've worked with, and most definitely the recreation staff that I have here today with me. You all mean the world to me, and it takes a village, it takes the community, it takes the staff, it takes us all working together towards a common goal to achieve greatness. And you all made me look good, so I appreciate the work you've done for me and all of those that I've worked with. It's been a pleasure working with you over the 21 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's get big. Back here. You ain't getting the right spot today. You look great. Jim? Got it? Thank you, Mary Ann. She will be hard to replace. We have now come to the part of our agenda where we take public comment. And if anyone desires to come forward and to make any public comment or speak to the council or address us in any way, we accept pros and cons. We're used to all of them. This will be your opportunity. Allow me, please, to read the legalities, and then I will open the floor up for public comment. The council takes public comment on all items in the regular agenda. Public input on a regular agenda item will be taken at its appropriate discussion. Public input on an item not on the agenda or consent agenda may be identified and requested for consideration by the council at this time. The council may request an item to be placed on a future agenda or for a consent agenda item to move to the regular agenda for public comment. On public hearing items, public input will be received on each item immediately following the council discussion and prior to any action on the item. Each member of the public should state their names from the podium. Remarks by each citizen will be limited to 3 minutes unless waived by a council meeting for all speaking on that matter. No individual will be allowed to speak more than once on any one subject until every citizen wishing to do so has done so. And just for the record, I am going to pull item number 3, which relates to the Valley View apartment buildings. I am going to pull item number 3 and place it on the regular agenda so that we can explain this and talk about it a little bit. Other than that, you will need to wait until we open that up for discussion to talk about it. But other than that, is there anyone in the public that would like to address the City Council in any way? If so, form a line at the front. Your time is now. A long time since we got off this easy. We don't expect the compliments, but we expect the criticism. If anybody's got it, this is your opportunity. All right, if there is no comment, I'm going to open it up to the City Council, to the council members to ask if there is anything that they would like to say or if there is anything that they would like to pull from consent to the regular agenda. Start with you, Ms. Grindstaff.
No, sir.
Mr. Vardaman.
No, sir.
Ms. Farmer.
Yes, you pulled item 3, which
Yes.
is the one, and item number 5, please.
Okay, item 3 and 5. Anything else?
No, sir.
Mr. Silvas.
Mr. Mayor, just for the sake of transparency, I did share with Shane Kelton this morning a couple of areas that some citizens called me about. The street right in front of the police station, there's some big potholes. I mean, there's potholes all over town, but these I've seen, they are big. And then the ones in the alley behind Sonic next to Santa Fe Golf Course. So I'm relaying the information to Shane as asked. So.
And Marty Self is not here today. He is out of town, so we will be dealing with 6 council members today. Mr. Fleming, do you have anything, sir?
Not at this time, thanks.
Okay. All righty, I will then entertain a motion to approve consent agenda
I
items.
move to approve the consent agenda
Would that be 1, 2, 4, and 6?
minus 3 and 5.
Anybody want a second?
Second.
Do I have a motion to accept as presented, items 1, 2, 4, and 6? I do have a second. Do I have further discussion from council on this? Do I have public comment on the consent agenda items? If none being, I will call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those that are opposed, nay. Let's put a 6-0 on that one, please, sir. Item number 3 is consideration of adopting a resolution of the City Council of the City of San Angelo, Texas, in support of the application of the Dissinger Development, LLC, to be made to the Housing Tax Credit Program through the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs for an award and allocation of 215 Low-Income Housing Tax Credit Program funds for the construction of 80 affordable housing apartment units for low to moderate income citizens known as Outlook at Valley View, to be located at 2900 Valley View Boulevard. And I will have to admit that the information I've been giving is not completely accurate, and that's the reason I pulled this, so that Robert Salas could explain everything and you would be able to understand exactly where we are on the situation, because I didn't understand it either. My apologies for those that have called me. I didn't lie to you. I just didn't know what I was talking about. So, Mr. Salas, please give us an explanation of
I'll
this.
try, sir. Council members, we have a developer that is interested in applying for the tax credits with the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs. They are asking for permit waivers to show city support, and that's how they get points as they compete with a very competitive process. These are 80 units built at high standards. They will compete with other projects here in San Angelo, which includes Odessa and Midland as well. So very competitive. We went to council last meeting and we approved the concept of providing the waiver, the fee waivers, which is about $14,000 what we figured. Right now, the way the process works is once the resolution is signed, they will submit their application, and at that point, TDHCA decides who gets the tax credits, and then the winner, and only one winner in the 3 cities, will get it, and usually we'll have 5 or 6 competitors. At that point, they'll move forward with the project. And these are, like I said, they're high standard, they're built with high standards, very nice apartments. They're not the old projects like people think they are, and they kind of target more of the middle class, moderate income, because of there are a few for low income, but for the most part, they're $700, $800 a month. So,
I have a question.
Yes, and my as way of explanation, then I will. I told everybody that this was not zoned for apartments. It is. It's zoned RM1. Yes. And it was my mistake, because I thought it was R&E, and I told everybody this is just going for tax credits, but it will come back on a zoning meeting, and that is not true. It is already zoned RM1, which allows this to be built. Ms. Grindstaff.
Bob, according to TDHCA or HUD, what is the standard, the income level, the maximum that someone can make in order to live in these apartments?
It varies, as you know, but for example, a family of 3 cannot make more than $44,000, I believe. So I think that's, if I remember, I don't have the in front of me, but that strikes me as a number that I remember.
I think that there are a lot of people that have an idea that it's a very different income level than what it actually is.
Yes,
So
it really does target very low-income families.
Right.
They can't afford these
Right.
for the most part.
Thank you.
Any further comment from council?
Yes.
Rodney?
A couple questions, Bob. One, there's no way that you can even tell that this apartment complex is low income. It's not going to have a big sign that says low income housing on it. Is that correct?
It does not.
It's low mod.
Right, and
Low mod.
and we've seen the plans, the rough plans of what it would look like. It's as nice, if not nicer, than the apartment complex that's right beside Bentwood at this time. It's 80 units. A couple of the arguments I'm sure we're going to hear coming up is that the property values will go down. Well, I'm a real estate broker. This is my livelihood, and I can attest, and I've read all the studies, and the majority of the studies show that the property values do not go down when you put apartment complexes in there if the zoning is right, if it's in the right zoning in the right area. one of the questions that Dwayne brought up in this situation is, if somebody wants the apartment complex there right now, today, we couldn't stop it. It would go there, and that apartment complex would be there anyways. So that, the zoning is right. We're not dealing with zoning. All we're dealing with is a matter of a credit for inspections. When I looked at making this decision, this was a hard decision for me, and I got a lot of phone calls yesterday. The majority were against it, but if you looked at, we're talking about giving them credits for about $14,000 worth of pass on the fees. Well, the first year in taxes, the city of San Angelo will get over, I think it was $62,000 in taxes back. I look at this strictly as an investment in our city, and also an investment in helping people that need to be spread throughout the city. Several of the phone calls I got yesterday were, frankly, they were very disheartening. And when I was listening to the prayer that the minister gave before this meeting, one of the things he said, to honor and glorify our God. And the phone calls I got yesterday were downright racist. The people were calling and saying I had two ladies in particular that said, I asked them, well, where do you want this? And both ladies said, on the north side. And I said, you cannot do that. You cannot force low-income people to all be together. That's not even the American way. We want this to all be for everybody. And I'm an investor, a business person, and I realized that I wouldn't want something that would devalue this. My house lives 200 yards away from industrial property. I built my house there, and it didn't devalue my property at all. And this apartment complex will be way nicer than what I live 200 yards from. So that's where I'm coming from. I understand that a lot of you are going to be talking and giving your opinion on this, and I got a lot of opinions yesterday on this. But one of the things I also want to bring up is, when you're talking about this and you're talking about low-income people, first of all, if you say anything racist and you get up here, I'm going to ask that they cut the microphone off, because the messages I got yesterday were very, very bad. And I grew up in low-income housing. So when you're giving me this argument and you're saying those are bad people, those people that called me yesterday called me a bad person. I was raised in low-income housing. So I'm telling you right now where I'm coming from on this. When you call somebody, next time you might want to check and see what their background is. I don't think people coming from low-income housing are bad people. I think they're people that may need a step up, a hand up, and help them. So that's where I'm coming from, and I hope that we can. I have no idea how the rest of the council is going to vote on this, but if this wasn't in my district, if it was in another district in the city, and Charlotte just went through this also, where we voted for that to help them, I think putting it anywhere throughout the city in different areas really helps us as a city and helps us all come together. That's all I have to say.
And remember that folks who are going to be tenants are going to be people like nurses that are starting off.
Single mothers. My mother was a single mother, and that's why I lived in low-income housing for almost 5 years when I was growing up. And I lived in low-income housing in Mason, Texas. So everybody knew where I lived. They all knew I was from low-income housing. So I don't think that's a stigma. I think that was something I'm proud of, because I picked myself up. I put myself through school. I have a business. I'm successful now. I'm a city council person. And I think that it's a proud moment for me. And I was so upset yesterday with the phone calls I got. I mean, it really, really broke me down that people would be this racist in today's time and talk to me that way without knowing who I am.
Charlotte? Yes, Mr. Mayor, as I stated last time, I am opposed to waiving the fees, which I voted against waiving the fees. I firmly believe if Tony Jones and Gary Cortese and all Mr. Biggerstaff and all the different builders out there come in and develop a section of land and stuff, and we don't waive their fees. They're independent and private, and we shouldn't be waiving their fees. The city needs the income to support and pay their people. With the tax credit program, what a lot of people have not understood, we don't have authority over who says and doesn't. So that goes to the state, and you definitely need to appear before the state to oppose any type project in housing in your city, in your area. I need to ask before I go on, what are the other 3 cities or 5 cities are being considered this go around?
Right now, Odessa, Midland, and San Angelo for our region.
Odessa, Midland, and San Angelo in this region.
In this region, yes. We compete regionally.
Yes. And in those cities that you said 5 to 6, I thought there were 10 applicants applying in those 3 cities.
I looked a long time ago, so there may be some more that came
Okay.
up, so I'm sorry.
So, and the reason I bring that up is so that you understand the chances. Only one will be granted. So there's a 1 in 3 chance that San Angelo will be granted, and 5 to 10 developers, there's that 1 in 5 or 1 in 10 chance. And that's what I want to emphasize. It is on a point system, and the developer comes in and asks for a resolution or an endorsement from the city. I asked at last meeting when this came forward about the fees that town hall meetings be conducted in the area in a location to hear from the citizens so that they could have their voice, they could see projects or placards of the buildings and whatnot. That hasn't been done in the 2-week time frame. I understand that just yesterday they started, contacting people to arrange for town hall meetings, and this is before, an endorsement from the city. And the reason I'm hesitant to endorse this is because what I feel is a market oversaturation. I do know that in this portion of town, the tax credit properties that were built or were financed, Encino Park, Bent Tree, the Desert Shadows, those are all tax credit properties that were built in the southwest portion of town. With the Encino Park went belly up in the beginning, and of course all the investment money, foreclosure and out of, for an oversaturation at that point in that time frame. It concerns me because since the Encino Park, in the Bent Tree, there have been considerably other rental properties come on board than doors that have opened. And there's one on Valley View now that is about to open out into the area. I don't believe they're on any kind of income program, but I do know that there are 31 different properties in San Angelo, whether it be a Myrtlewood Estates or a Bent Tree or any of those, that currently accept housing assistant programs. And I'm cautious as to what we're meeting our needs of our population now and the future. And I think we need to be very careful of our endorsement of overbuilding. I happen to know what overbuilding and these properties can draw in unattended, unwatched habitations, the deterioration and the crowds that it can gather. That is my hesitation on it. And I truly believe in not a handout, but a help up. And that's what you're saying that these folks want to establish, but I really would like for them to have something in the game besides all borrowed and all tax dollar funds in this. So I'm opposed to the endorsement, and I've made that very clear, and because of the overmarket saturation. I've checked with the local apartment association as to what their occupancy is at this time without the new phase of the registry coming online, the ones there behind Suddenlink and the ones on Valley View, which are going to put close to 800 more units on the line, which will bring market rates down and rental down because the competitive is and the abundance on the market. So I think all of these things need to be taken into consideration. And Mr. Salas, I thank you for the information that you had gathered. I don't know where you got your occupancy standard done. The one at the apartment association that is going on is not due to be published until next week.
That was from the market analyst.
A market analysis that was done by the company that's coming in.
And part of the package.
And I can tell you, I know how that works when an individual calls to ask for occupancy standards, and there's not an apartment manager out there that will give you the straight story as to what their vacancies are. That it's just the nature of the game, the competition of it. But the actual numbers that come in, I'm most anxious to wait till next week for their official survey to be announced for the overall city, which is lots of units here in town. Sure. And I'm hoping to hear from the public and to their opinions on this today.
Don, did you have anything to add to this?
No, sir.
Johnny?
A couple of months ago, I think there was an idea of putting maybe some units here across the river. I welcome something like that. It is revitalization, and some people can call it something different, and it's part of the growing pains we're going through. But, I'm jealous of whoever's area that is. I would welcome something like that over here that's badly needed. And, again, revitalize the neighborhood. My gosh, what's wrong with that? So that's just my opinion. Thank you.
Well, I've got 4 of these out in my area, and none of them are as nice as what they're trying to build on Valley View. This is not Section 8 housing. This is nice apartments. These are good apartments, and there'll be good people in them. One more, Rodney?
Yeah, just to kind of answer what Charlotte was saying, they're not borrowing all the money. They have a huge stake in this investment. So they're putting a lot of their own money into this.
Oh, absolutely.
The majority of the money is their money.
It's a token of.
Yes.
that
And
we are
really, all
putting.
we're doing is helping them, and you did explain this very well, Charlotte, on the point system. This is a point system, and so when they're competing with these other 10 companies that are proposing these projects, what they look at is total points, and this is some points that are added. If they ask us for an endorsement, we're not giving them that, but we said that we might possibly give them this break on the fees, and that helps them with the points.
Yes.
So out of all the apartment complexes that we have coming into town, there are no low-income housing coming on board. None. None of the new ones are low-income housing. And I can tell you, because I am in this industry, and my wife manages almost 50 rental houses right now, the rental market is tough right now. And the majority of these people that are going to speak, they have no idea between $500 and $1,200 a month. It is a rat race out there, and you are fighting for these houses. And it's amazing what you get for $1,200. It's not that nice. It's not. And so when you're talking about apartment complexes between $600 and $1,000, that's roughly what they were saying, between $600 and $1,000, with $1,000 being a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, so you could have several family members in there. I welcome this. I think that it would be a good thing, and I'm like Johnny. I would vote for this, whether it was in Johnny's district or Don's district. I think this is a good thing for the city, for them to put up their money and try to get this thing. And they've already invested a ton. They've already, they've probably put 6 months or more into this project.
And the only reason I'm opposed to it, because I don't want to give them $14,000 worth of credit. I think they can pay the permit fees like everybody else. But I am going to open it up for public comment. I will give you 3 minutes to speak. Say the same thing. I mean, if one says it, don't everybody else stand up and say the same thing. But give us a variety of reasons not to. But I will open it up for public comment. Come to the microphone, state your name, and I will give you 3 minutes. Come on up, Terry.
My name's Terry Campbell, and I live about a half a block from where this building is supposed to be done. Okay, now my main concern is not what everybody's been talking about. It's the utility infrastructure to support it. Because right now, the standard water pressure for a standard pipe is about 80 PSI. Right now, I'm running 40 PSI. Okay, now, if you put 80 units in, it's going to cost the city a lot more money to put another main in to get enough water pressure to support an 80-unit housing. It's going to cost the city more money, I'm saying, than just just letting them build it. That's all I had to say. It's just that I got some problems with the infrastructure.
Good point, Terry. Thank you.
Okay.
Next. If you would, just kind of queue up to the front, and everyone will get their say-so. Yes, sir.
I'm Mark White, live at 40 South Ridge. We're a member of the South Ridge Homeowners Association. I appreciate the Homeowner Association coming to support this effort that we bring to encourage the City Council not to waive the fees for this project. We would seriously encourage you not to waive the fees. Thank you very much for allowing us. Would the members of the Homeowner Association please stand up? Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am. And I didn't mean to give you wrong information a while ago. I apologize.
My name is Karen Rustman. I live at 2754 Oak Hills Trail. We've been here approximately 10 years. We moved here because of the location of the city. We love it. But as the gentleman previously indicated, My concern, it will be on the backside of my property, is traffic. Who's going to maintain the property? Is that going to be the responsibility of the city once this property is built? Who's going to maintain it? I'm not concerned about the building structure. That's all I've heard in this meeting so far, is it's going to be a beautiful building. It's going to be something like we've not seen before. Well, that's well and good. I'm not concerned about how it's going to integrate into the other surrounding homes. I'm concerned about traffic. I'm concerned about security. I'm concerned about proximity to the school on the backside of Southwest. And I'm concerned about the nursing home right up the street. Those individuals need to be heard as much as I do. And I do not feel that our councilman, Mr. Fleming, has done that. We were not aware of any of this. No one has done anything to advise us and inform us that this was a possibility, that this company had came in and was wanting fees waived. If they want this property so much, let them pay it. We do not give things for free. Thank you.
Good point, ma'am. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Jeannie Mitchell, and I reside in Bentwood, so I have close proximity. But my concern is the fees being waived. My husband's a builder, and I can promise you nobody cuts him any slack when he goes and applies for permits. Any type of fee, we pay it. So I think what's fair for one is fair for the next. Also, when it comes to the permitting process, right now, if you apply for a permit in the city of San Angelo, even to do a small remodel job, the waiting time's about 10 weeks, maybe longer. We're just getting a permit today for something we applied for in November. If we're going to have all these big projects, then maybe the city needs to allocate a little more time or a little more resources instead of waiving fees to hire another person in the permit department. So I say don't waive the fees.
Thank you, ma'am. And we did have a meeting yesterday about the permit department and the time it's taking. We're very aware of the problem, and we are working on it. That said, we're working on it. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Lisa Hill, and I lived within sight of the new project. And I want to thank you for this chance to speak, Mr. Mayor and the council persons. We thank you very much for listening to us. I have lived through a situation like this before, and I saw a really good solution. I moved here not too long ago from Bernie, and in that particular area, we lived in 1-acre homes, and the city council allowed starter homes to be built next door. So you had people that lived on an acre and people that were going to, be very, very dense next door. And so what they did as a solution was they required the stakeholders and the developer to talk. Rather than doing it in this format, they said if we're going to waive the fee, then we're going to make it contingent upon the developer meeting with the stakeholders and listening to their concerns. And then we were able to bring those concerns back to the city council, and we were actually able to get the developer to make some really important concessions. They were planning on doing some things that very cheaply that hadn't been brought out, and you don't have a lot of time to look at this solution. You don't really know what the developer is going to do, or maybe you do, but we certainly don't. And that's why I do not feel the way that the people that called you feel. I am not a racist, and I care very much about affordable housing. And even though it's going to be in my backyard and that's scary, what I really want is a voice to talk to the developer. We haven't seen the pictures. We don't know what they're going to do. All we know is that it's subsidized housing, and there's probably going to be a lot more traffic and a lot of people living in our neighborhood, that it's just going to change the complexion is what it feels like. So all I'm asking you to consider is that please don't waive the fee, because that does give the developer a big hand up in being able to do something that they haven't even talked to the stakeholders about. But if you decide to waive the fee, we ask that you please make it contingent upon a stakeholder town hall meeting, so that all the hundreds of people that live next door and pay taxes and are mostly good citizens get a chance to talk to the developer and maybe ask the developer to make some potential concessions that they might be willing to make if they sit down with us. Not in this meeting or in a meeting that seems kind of hostile, but if we're sitting in a school cafeteria and we get a chance to talk to them and they share with us, maybe they might be willing to address some of our concerns. And I know I'm almost out of time, but in my previous situation, we brought forth to the City Planning Commission that we thought there was going to be a serious drainage issue. The developer stood up in front and the city staffer stood up in front of the Planning Commission and said, nope, we've already looked at it, there's not going to be a drainage issue. When we had our stakeholder meeting, we begged the city engineer to come to the meeting, and we walked out onto the hill where they were going to build this huge development, and we pointed to it. You didn't have to be a rocket scientist to see that they hadn't addressed a serious drainage issue. And so because of that meeting, we got 2 important concessions, including a different route for the drainage, and many homes were saved. So that's all I'm asking, is that you make it contingent, if you vote for this, on a stakeholder meeting with the neighbors, and the developer gets to sit down with all the people that are going to live right next door to it and talk to them about it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Bob, can you make that happen? Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I would like to echo everything that she just said. I stood back there thinking, okay, I should just turn around and go sit back down. I agree with everything she said. I would like to apologize on behalf of...
State your
I'm
name,
sorry, my
please.
name is Becky Bray.
I'm sorry.
I would like to apologize on behalf of any neighbor in my neighborhood that called and said anything racist. Our neighborhood, I would like to think, is not full of racist people. I don't care if they're polka dot, purple, striped. It doesn't matter to me what color people live in the neighborhood. I have the same concerns as everyone else addressed, and I do not think that the fees should be waived as well.
Thank you, Ms. Bray. Yes, ma'am. And I apologize to you because I gave you bad information.
That's why we're here. My name's Lillian Russell. I live real close to where this is going to be. And I would like to, and I have been on their website, and I have looked at their nice buildings. And they all say senior living, it's not mentioned about low income, but all of a sudden it's low income. So why would you want to put a low income right in the middle of a high-end residential area? Does this does not make it sense to me, does it to you?
Yes.
There is plenty of vacant properties in San Angelo.
On the north side, did you call me yesterday?
I did call, you did not return my call. What makes this property
You didn't leave a message for me.
Yes, I did. I did leave you a message, you did not return my call. Mr. Mayor, thank you for answering. What makes this property...
Even though I gave you wrong information?
Well, we got it. What makes this property so attractive to the LDG development? Is it because the utilities are already placed, paid by someone else?
They're investors. They choose the site. We don't.
Well, I do have concerns. The fees shouldn't. My husband's a builder also. We pay those fees. So there's no reason for them to be. They're going to get the income. And another thing is the turnover in these apartments is greatly. They don't stay. We are people here that stay and pay our taxes and keep our houses updated. I have nothing against. I came from low income also. I bettered myself. I made those moves. And everybody can do that if they choose to. I do object to the fees being waived. I object to this proposal of a building being built here. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning.
Morning.
State your name. You've got 3.
I'm Colonel Dr. Walter Russman, and I guess I have 3 concerns with this. The first is just the way it was done. It seemed like everybody here found this out in the last 48 hours. It just seemed like there was no knowledge of it until all of a sudden local citizens found that this was going on, and I think that that's done wrong. I agree with the one woman who said the company should come forth and discuss with the local people. So that really bothered me. As far as Ms. Farmer's comments, I completely agree with that. My concern is, I guess, the security of the area. Study after study will show you that subsidized low-income housing does have a higher crime rate. It does. You can't dispute that. Also, with the saturation in the area of housing, I'm concerned that you're going to have unoccupied areas. And again, that's going to bring that element. We have elderly homes, we have people who have set up retirements. They are the people that are typically targeted for crime. So that bothers me. And then the last thing simply is I kind of resent the implication that everybody who is against this is a racist. Mr. Fleming, I grew up poor. My father was a garbage man, my mom a waitress. I went to medical school. My wife and I put ourselves through that to get to this point in life. We didn't live in the nicer part of town until now. I worked to that. That's the American dream, and I don't think we should be sitting there putting this stuff forth where people are just giving this forth right now, and the implication that we're all racist just really bothered me because we've worked to this. But the implication was there that everybody that was calling me was a racist. We're not racist.
There were some.
Rodney?
No, I'm going to answer that. There were several people that did call me that were racist. Several. Yes. I probably got 20-something, out of respect, I probably got 20-something phone calls last night, and the 2 out of the 20, so it was very low.
Yeah,
but
not the way you made it sound.
No. But 2 out of 20, and the way that they presented it, it was bad. And I'm not saying that neighborhood. I've lived in that neighborhood. I've owned houses in that neighborhood. I sell houses in that neighborhood. I don't have any.
Right, let's keep this civil now. We're going to keep it civil.
And look who's there.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, council. My name is Sandy Lee, and I live in single-member District 1. And your representation has been very poor. None of us knew that you were going to just kind of slide under the radar and decide that you were unilaterally going to do this. That was a very sanctimonious decision to make.
And I did that by myself.
And
there's a body here, and this was
I believe I was speaking.
Let me finish.
I believe I have my 3 minutes,
Rodney,
Mr.
you
Mayor.
do. Let's one at a time.
Do I
And
not
you
have
were
my 3
speaking.
minutes? Thank
You
you.
have the floor.
Thank you. Charlotte, to you, thank you for trying to get us a town meeting. Even though you're not our representative, it's nice to see part of the council all works together, and then part of us are on our own little agenda, whatever that might be.
Now, you be civil as well.
I'm
You are walking on the line.
I've been very civil.
Okay.
This was not ever brought up in a public manner. It was,
We didn't know about it until last meeting. In all fairness, we didn't know about it until last meeting.
how could you not know about it?
Didn't know about it.
And they brought it up in the last meeting.
It was
And we
in the
all
last
voted
meeting
on
is
it in
when
the
we-
last meeting.
is
I
when
didn't
we
just
learned.
vote on it.
But go ahead. I
We have a
interrupted you.
hearing where we hear and not engage, then we can
Yeah.
engage afterwards, otherwise
Yeah.
we'll not.
You do have the floor.
Thank you. You did this, none of the constituents, you did not, you are a voice for the constituents, and you are not the voice for the constituents in this case. Nobody knew until the mayor said again last night.
Last meeting.
No one knew until last night. The $14,500 should not be waived at all for any reason. Let's all be on the same playing field. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir.
My name is James Major, and I live in South Ridge. I just got one question that's sort of bothering me. I believe that's city-owned property. And
No, it's not. No.
Is it, Robert?
No.
It is not.
Brandon Moore is
the
one
city
selling it.
traded that property for Lamar's location. Now, it
No.
may have changed hands
Most-
since then, but I believe that is city-owned property.
It is
As
not.
far as we know, it is private owned.
Okay? It wasn't for sale. So somebody obviously made a private deal or whatever, but I just wanted to, I wanted that on the record as to who owned the property, and not that we need to look up and see who sold it. I mean, it's-
Who owns?
Who owns it, and I believe at one time the city did own that property because it was traded for the property where Lamar is now because it was in the floodplain. So if we could just clarify that question, it'll be something maybe for further discussion, but
We can find that out pretty quick.
well, I'm
what the
certain,
property
I'm
road.
certain, and we could as well, but just for public consumption.
Good point. Thank you, sir. Any more public comment before I open it up to the council again? Because there are more comments up here. Come ahead, ma'am.
Is the proponent here?
Is the proponent here?
He's not.
He is not. Okay.
Last week, he thought it was.
State your name and keep it civil, and you've got three.
Okay, I'll do it. I'm Kyra Nesledge, and I live at 2742 Oak Hills Trail. So this plan is going to be right behind my house. So last night, at 8 o'clock, I get a knock on the door, and a pool man that was working on our pool comes and brings me. He says, "Do y'all know about this?" And I said, "No." So I made copies, went out. The people that opened the doors, 20 houses I went to, well, more than 20, probably 40, but people thought I was selling Girl Scout cookies, so they didn't open. But the 20, no one knew about it. No one knew about it. I went to the city today, and this is who owns it. It's Scott Allison and Lacey. Oh, excuse me. They own it, the property.
Well, that answers one question.
There we go. So I thought I needed to give it. Is that the wrong location?
Yeah. Scott doesn't own it.
They are the agents.
No, Brandon Moore is the agent for the sale of the property.
Oh, I was told.
It says registered agent Lance Lacey.
No.
On the
Brandon
second
Moore is
page.
the one that's selling it.
Is that?
Steve Eustace Company has it listed for sale.
Okay.
Yeah, and Scott Allison's name's on here.
Well, there's concerns that we have that you are directly involved with it in some form or fashion. And so I feel like maybe, because you're pushing it, none of us want it.
Right.
And you're our representative. So.
But I represent the whole district, 17,000 people. And then we work together as a body for the city of San Angelo. My whole deal, the only reason why I'm looking at this and the way, and my thought processes on this is that we need low-income housing throughout the city, not just on the north side and not just on the east side.
I agree, but
That's the number one thing.
I agree. I mean.
An apartment complex
but-
can be there no matter what.
You're right, you're right.
It can.
But how it was done,
But I didn't set that up. It was brought before us the last council meeting as a body.
Ronnie,
We voted on it.
I'll address that in just a little bit as well.
Okay, and also, when there is a town meeting suggested, because of the concerns.
And I love that. I want us to do that.
You do?
It's
Well,
called a
I
stakeholders
had
meeting.
heard you did not.
But by someone that's never talked to me. Stakeholder meetings are always
Let her
positive.
speak, please. Let her speak.
So, I mean, I'm sorry that fingers are being pointed to you, but you are our representative, so, we want, you are our voice.
Right.
And so, that's, again, I don't think we're not racist. We're your neighbor. We're not racist. Many of us know you, we're friends. That's not what's going on here, okay? And the traffic is going to be horrible. It's
Another
going
check
to be.
my traffic.
Oh, my kiddos, they're going fast, and it's a lot of traffic on that street now. I've lived there 13 years, and so anyway, a town meeting I would really like.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You ready? See if there's any more. Any more comment? Any more public comment on this before I open it up? Mr. Valenzuela, I've got Charlotte waiting to speak. Daniel?
First of all, as far as procedurally, this really doesn't fall on Rodney. Really, from the staffing perspective, procedurally moving forward, it's apparent that anytime there's any type of application for a housing tax credit, that we should follow a procedure that we have a town hall meeting in those areas. And really, again, I want to make sure that I stress that please don't point fingers in any other direction. If you point a finger, point it at me as far as representing the staff. This is something that will be rectified moving forward, making sure that we do have those town hall meetings. Again, from a procedural perspective in the future, whenever we have an issue like this that comes up, we need to make sure that we do hear from all the stakeholders, and for that, my apology.
Charlotte?
Yes, and I totally agree. Before we endorse any resolutions, pass any resolutions, there's definitely, as I requested 2 weeks ago, some town hall meetings on this to keep us better informed from the public. I do want to clarify one thing. Any time that a TDCH property application tax credit has been applied for, letters are sent to council members. There definitely should be sent to the council members of that district. I received one because that used to be my district. I received one in January with reference to this property. So I can't speak for Mr. Fleming or the rest of the council. I know that my letter came through the city of San Angelo, addressed to me, as several of them do, from the developer, that it is their intent. And so to answer that, I knew in January, this is February, it's first part of January. So that addresses that. But I want to make something very, very clear. I have always been a proponent and an advocate for safe, decent, and affordable housing. I believe in it. I believe in it with all of my heart. And the programs were invented in the housing industry years ago to assist and to bring up out of ghettos for people who needed to get ahead. I believe in that. But I also know and understand real estate and market saturation. And out-of-town developers do not have the care and concern for our community as our local people do. And that is my concern in this instant, is that we're not careful to overbuild, and that's the reason I requested 2 weeks ago for town hall meetings, and to get an accurate account of all the properties, apartment complexes, and people in the HAP program, and that is through the PHA, which is a housing assistance program, that participate in the city of San Angelo. That's all of the nursing or assisted living facilities that participate in low income. And at my last count, there were 31 properties, and the majority of those being on the south or just centered, just past the loop. So I need to see those numbers before I am ready to look at any kind of resolution. And that's the only number that is left out from the work that you have done, Mr. Salas. So I appreciate that.
Well, I guess it's time to vote on this. Somebody move to approve or deny.
What is the time frame that they need on this? Because I'm all in favor of having a stakeholders meeting. Stakeholders meetings are awesome because everybody kind of figures out what needs to be done to make it the right way.
I believe the pre-application is due the end of February. Now, if they don't apply, if they don't do the pre-application, they do have some time after the fact. I believe they lose a point if they don't do the pre-application. But there's time if you want to go forward with the.
Well, I would like just for the residents in the area's purpose to have a meeting. I'm totally fine with that with the developer and all the stakeholders that live in the area, and for him to line out what is going to be built over there and how it's going to be built, and the things just like the lady described from Bernie. I think she was at Bernie. About what is going to be done over there. If that's possible.
I move to postpone until after a town hall meeting with the stakeholders.
Yeah. I'm in
Somebody
favor
gonna
of
second that?
I'll second that.
Okay. I think that's an excellent way to look at this.
Mayor, can I add something real quick?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Salas, I think, I find it disheartening that even some of these residents heard about this idea just last night. So that tells me that there's a crack there somewhere as far as communication goes. We knew about it 2 weeks ago. I certainly didn't get any phone calls. It's not my district. I wish I would have gotten some phone calls, with concerns. But I think we need to really, when something like this comes up, I don't know if you advertise it. I don't know.
I do not. I contact the council member in the area and see if they're interested in bringing it forward. That's how I do it.
Okay.
I can change that. That's easily changed. And then we can certainly have, from now, we have others coming in. We have 2 others that are thinking of coming to San Angelo. But they're not doing the pre-application. They're going to be going later on, so we'll have more time.
Elizabeth?
I don't want to leave the community with any false sense of notification, though. Most of you know each of us represent anywhere from 15 to 16,000 people. And so the idea of being able to make a call to your personal residence is impossible unless someone can figure out a way to do it. I have public meetings monthly. I Facebook, and it's still so easy to miss people. So I implore you to watch council agendas and see what it is that affects your neighborhood. Because for me, I already have a phone that is that's filled. I can't answer any more phone calls. I can't keep up with the emails because my district was very concerned about a frac sand facility. And so when that thing blows up, as we say, you never even get to the next item. It's our technology is great, but it also allows so much communication that it's very hard to decide how to prioritize that. I don't know what the most important call is anymore. It's hard to answer the most important email. So I would just say to you, I appreciate your concern for your neighborhood, but it is incumbent upon you as individuals and property owners to watch council agendas. We discussed this 2 weeks ago, as everyone up here has admitted, but there wasn't anyone here to speak. Maybe, I don't know, just several people. So we were left that day with a very different impression about community desires. I do, while I have the floor, I want to say that my personal and my professional ethic, however, is to strive to expand housing opportunities for all members of our community, regardless of your economic income. My district is very economically diverse, and I think it's also what makes it very interesting. I do, however, think there's great merit in having town meetings, which I do. I think it's also important that going forward that we have perhaps a criteria locally that requires a town meeting before the council look at supporting such a development. And hopefully we'll be able to get that done right now, but that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Some people don't want to come out to a meeting at 6 o'clock. They want to go home to their families, but at least we give you the opportunity and we kind of allay those fears before you get into the kind of the 11th hour. So I'd like to see that institutionalized going forward, not just for this one case, because as long as TDHCA has housing tax credits to award, we'll continue having this kind of surprise issue. Thank you.
Rodney and then Boss.
Okay. One thing I didn't say before to the lady that came up and accused me basically of wrongdoing, I guess, was Scott Allison, or I don't even know who owns the property now. I do know who the selling agent is, and that's Brandon Moore, and I only know that because he called me and asked me questions about this, and I met with him. But I have no idea who the owner of this property is. I would never do anything like that, ever. You don't know me very well if you're even thinking of that. When it comes back to allowing this or not allowing this, I do try to represent my district as best I can, but sometimes it's the people, only a few people will come out. Liz said it perfectly. A few people will come out, but they're not representative of the whole 17, it's almost 17,000 in my district that are speaking. And so I try to weigh that as best I can. And when we do get those phone calls, and you said about being notified, we had that meeting. We had it 2 weeks ago here. And the only people that really, I think the developer was the only person that spoke. I don't even think there was a single person that spoke against it, not one. And so the developer spoke. But that is up to you as a resident to know what's happening with your city council. It's posted to, how many days is it posted?
72 hours.
72 hours before.
It's we're getting out of line here. We can't handle this. We're going to keep it civil.
Well, as far as returning all phone calls,
I know you're going to keep it civil too.
I am. As far as returning all phone calls, if you understand how this works, 17,000 people. Last night I probably received 40 calls. I answered yesterday about 20 calls, 22 or so calls. I received 40 or more calls. I don't answer all my phone calls because I can't. I have to make a living. I have my family. I eat. I sleep. I try to do all those things. So if anybody thinks,
Rodney, do you have to do laundry? I do laundry.
And so we can't
I don't
answer
do
those
laundry.
things.
Points made, Rodney. Points made. Daniel?
Mayor, we'll make sure that we do schedule a town hall meeting. Also, we'll make sure that we have staff available to address the issues that you raised a while ago, to make sure we address traffic, infrastructure, health and safety issues as well, and we'll get all that on the table. Make sure we get that discussed thoroughly as well.
We'll do that
again, our apologies for that.
We do have a motion on the floor that we postpone this thing until we have a town meeting so that we can have everyone, and we'll give everyone an opportunity to speak and speak to the developer. And I think it's a wonderful idea. I do have a second on that, and I'm calling for the vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? I didn't think so. Put a 6-0 on that.
Can we take a break?
Let's do, please. It is 10:15. We're going to take about 15 minutes. It's 10:39. We ready to start? We need to get through this consent agenda so we can get to the cat issue where we're really going to spend some time. We haven't even got to the big one yet. Number 5 on consent is consideration of adopting the following resolutions authorizing the adoption of investment policies for the City of San Angelo and Lake Nasworthy. A resolution of the San Angelo City Council authorizing the adoption of City of San Angelo, Texas Investment Policy and Investment Strategy 2001-4. And B, a resolution of the San Angelo City Council authorizing the adoption of Lake Nasworthy Investment Policy and Investment Strategy for 2014. Ms. Bonnell, you are on, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor.
Did you want to say?
Yes, I just want to make this real quick. My only interest in this is for public information. Okay. If you could please state on the record to public the changes that are being made and requested. That's all I'm asking for is for public notification of what's being done.
Okay, this is just our regular update to our investment policy. We do it every year. It's reviewed by our Investment Oversight Committee every year and adopted there, and then we bring it to council. The changes are very minimal. Mostly they just have to do with changes that were made to the actual Public Funds Investment Act that we have to include within our policies. So.
Thank you. Motion to approve.
Thank you, ma'am.
Got a motion. I do have a second. Any council discussion on this item? Any public comment on this item before we move on? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Put a 6-0 on that one. And we are now to 7. Now we're to the cat issue. This is the first public hearing and consideration of amending the animal control ordinances of the City of San Angelo, Texas by amending Chapter 3, entitled Animal Control of the San Angelo Code of Ordinances, to add new defined terms under Article 3.01 to address impoundment and release of free-roaming community cats under Article 3.05, to add a new Article 3.10 entitling Free-Roaming Community Cats, allowing and regulating free-roaming community cats and establishing requirements for free-roaming community cat caregivers. Mr. Salas, you are on, sir.
Council, over the past several months, the Animal Shelter Advisory Committee has heard testimony and a lot of recommendations from law citizens to establish a program to help deal with the free-roaming cats in the community. I think it's safe to say that we have an overpopulation, which is not surprising since cats are prolific breeders. So you can see by that number there. Unfortunately, our current process, which we've used for decades, hasn't worked, doesn't work, especially not in the long run. The main reason this doesn't work is because of a thing called a vacuum effect. Basically, when you go capture cats and you remove them, eventually other cats will be moving in to stabilize the population. It's a fact, it's happening, so we have to try to do something different. And I think the staff on the committee believe that a trap, neuter, return, maintain program is worth trying here in San Angelo. These kind of programs have shown a pretty good success rate, in some cases up to 100%, but what I've seen mostly over at least 50%. So it does make a difference. It is effective. We're recommending changes to the ordinance to set up the TNRM program. We're going to register caregivers, and we're going to have new rules for impoundment and for disposition of these cats. These are the affected articles in the ordinance. It includes adding new terms in Article 3.01, addressing impoundment and release of free-roaming cats in Article 3.05, adding new article addressing regulation and establishment of community cat caregivers. Now, we will have to work with a lot of the support groups to iron out some details. For example, even though microchipping is a great thing to do, especially for identification, we cannot enforce it now with the current ordinances. We may have to come up with some incentives, perhaps some partial funding of these types of microchipping to allow my staff a chance to better identify what colony they come from. Some things we have to work out. We got a few others to work out, but those are the main ones. I think before council deliberates, I think my shelter manager, Julie Parsons, wants to address the council.
Yes, ma'am. Welcome, Julie.
Morning, council. I just wanted to explain the ordinance, basically, kind of in layman's terms. I've got 2 tennis balls here. There's not a difference in the 2, and they're going to represent 2 cats in a feral cat colony or a community cat colony. So if you have 2 cats, whether they're ear-notched or not, ear-notched is only distinguishing whether they've been spayed or neutered. You can't tell which colony they belong to. There's no form of ID on them. But if they were microchipped, the microchip number could be related on the rabies certificate. And we would also know who's responsible for that colony and be able to contact them and let them know your cat got trapped, and you can come pick it up and relocate it. With the ordinance written the way it is, if a cat got trapped, you've got 2 black and whites or 2 black cats in a colony. You know they probably belong to a colony, but you're not sure. They're all going to have to be rabies vaccinated before they leave the shelter because that is state law. So every cat, every time, will have to be rabies vaccinated. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie.
And that will be the crux of the issue. If we don't microchip, we will have to vaccinate, and that perhaps that's a solution. But like I said, we'll work with some of the rescue groups and some of the other interested groups to kind of work out a solution of some kind. Okay.
What we have now is not working.
It's not working. We have not for decades anyway. So
let's try something else. Council, who wants to get started on this? Anybody have any comments?
Hear from the public.
Don?
I never saw where funding for this was coming from, Bob.
There's not a lot of this. The way it works is the caregivers will do the trapping of the vaccination and those kind of things. It's their responsibility to take care of that.
Okay, so our
it won't come from us. We won't be doing that.
Okay.
It's this and the caregivers will have to register with a sponsoring organization, and I think we have a couple of them, Paws and Critter Shack.
Good.
Once they register, their job at that point is to take care of the TNRM program.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Any other comments from council?
I can say, and Bob and I have met on this subject, but when I started having my public meetings, this issue kept coming up over and over again. Mm-hmm. And I may not be so aware of it. I'm aware of the program at ASU, but I wasn't aware of it in my neighborhood or in my district until I became elected. And a lot of times what we're seeing are cats that are left when people move or they become elderly and they might change their housing situation, and cats are left behind, and very quickly you have problems. And my neighborhood in particular has been a victim of this. So any program that's takes a new approach to this in such a humane way, I think is very good, and you have the support of SMD5 to do it.
Well, I'm not going to say anything derogatory about cats, because my aunt's in the back room and state of the division's in this room, so I'm not going to say anything derogatory about cats. Public comment? If we could, come on up, Terry. State your name. You've got 3.
Yeah, my name's Terry Campbell. I just spent this last Christmas down in South Florida, and the city of Land O'Lakes, Florida, has a similar program. It's called a Catch, Spade, and Vaccinate and Release. Well, and it works there. But what they did, they cut a little notch in the edge of the ear. So that they can identify them from a distance, so they don't keep catching the same ones over and over and over. That was my only comment.
Thank you, Terry. Anyone else care to comment on the cat issue?
El presidente.
Mr. May.
El jefe.
I'm Brian May. I work at Angelo State, and I just want to rise in favor of this amendment of the ordinance. We have a program at Angelo State University that has unbelievable results. What this does is it actually addresses the actual behavior of the ecology of feral cats. And my dissertation is in physiology of animals, and I've done massive amounts of research in behavior of not only farm animals but pets as well. And I can tell you that this addresses the actual behavior. In doing so, it is remarkably successful at Angelo State, and it has not cost us one dime. They too are ear-notched, and it's worked well. And I would think that this is something that would be an easy vote, in my opinion. And I just want you to know on behalf of myself, I'm not representing the institution, but as myself and as an educator and an animal researcher, that this comes from very firm evidence. And I think it'll be a great thing for this city, and I'm hoping we'll follow the pattern that the gentleman just talked about in Florida. But you have a working model of very dedicated citizens that want to take this into their own hands. And I can tell you, anything that we've tried to do in America that dealt with animals, that euthanasia never has been the answer. If you remember the screwworm fly, and if you remember what we had to do to that to save the ranching industry, it was actually learning about the ecology that allowed us to control that. So, anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, buddy.
Motion to approve is presented.
Second.
Dude, yes, ma'am. Come ahead.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Mary Ann White. I'm a veterinarian at Southside Animal Hospital and also sit on the Animal Services Advisory Committee. I headed the subcommittee that worked for over a year and a half to put this ordinance amendment together for you. I just wanted to comment a little bit on Julie's example. We are not, as far as the subcommittee, and the microchip has kind of been one of the big issues of discussion about whether or not to do it or not to do it. None of us that is in favor of the ordinance as written or that was involved in writing it is against the idea of microchipping. We know that there's no other real way other than a tattoo or something like that to identify an animal whenever you have two black cats. The way the ordinance is written as far as amending the impoundment ordinance is it states an ear-tipped cat shall not be impounded unless a complaint has been lodged against the cat. So just in general, if it's trapped and an animal control officer, if there's traps around the city and it's not causing a problem, it should just be released right there. It shouldn't actually make its way to the shelter. If it's a nuisance, if it's causing a problem, if someone has trapped it on their property, then yes, it will go to the shelter and try to be relocated. So I just wanted to try to clarify that as it's written, in general, the cats, unless they're causing a problem, we shouldn't have too much of an issue with finding colonies. And in general, a colony is set in a specific area, so we should be able to work with the caregivers to have a better way of relocating relatively quickly without having the animal have to sit in the shelter for times. Does anybody have any other questions for me related to this ordinance?
I appreciate your explanation.
Thank you
very
for your
much.
service on the board.
Appreciate it. What are you going to cut off? About half of the ear, 3/4 of the ear, right down to the skull? What?
We can use yours.
Poquito. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Kristen Stanley, and I am the founder of the ASU Cat Coalition about 3 years ago, and I also served on the subcommittee. And a year and a half ago, those of us that are practicing trap, neuter, return, and maintain, which is very important as well to make the trap, neuter, return work, had no legal stance to do so, and this ordinance will give us the right to do so and hold those of us that are doing it accountable. And so people that are just feeding, they will now have resources to fix. If we have this ordinance in place, we're more likely to get grants for trap, neuter, return of free roaming cats. One of the reasons that we didn't get a grant that we went for about a year ago is because those cats that we had already fixed on donations were being trapped and taken to the shelter and killed, and so no one wanted to fund that. And so by approving this ordinance, that will again give us this legal stance. We've found a lot, we've done so much research on it, and it's the humane option. It's actually effective, and many of us are doing it with our own personal resources. And then, like I said, once we'll get more funding, and then we can do more advertising and education. And I'm hoping that the model that we have at ASU, we're 100% sterilized in less than 2 years. We've completely vetted over 125 cats. We adopted out 52 of them because they were tame. Some of them we re-socialized. And so when you do go into a community, sometimes if someone moved and they just dumped their cats out, a lot of them can be vetted and then worked into Critter Shack or Paws adoption centers. And so it's worked really well at ASU. As Dr. White mentioned, none of us are opposed to microchipping. We think it's great. When Critter Shack has spay-neuter clinics, we actually run about 200 cats through these clinics every other month. And that would be an enormous expense and also a lot of paperwork. And we also decided that since we don't at this time require pet owners to microchip their cats, we can't require it of caregivers who don't own these cats to microchip. But we do think it's a great idea. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else want to comment on the cat issue? Council, do you have any comments?
You know,
Yes, sir.
I love cats because people ask me how many grandkids I have. I say I have 3 grandcats and a grandpuppy. So I know how to love cats.
Well, my aunt's in the back room, so I'm not going to say anything. Anybody else have anything? If there's no further comments, I do have a motion to approve as presented from Charlotte. Somebody want to second it?
Second. She did.
Do have a second from Elizabeth. And if there's no further comments, I will call for the vote. All in favor of accepting the ordinance as written, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Put a 6-0 on that one, Brian. Thank you very much.
Hey, Mayor, can I ask Tom or Corby, is Stephanie back there? Stephanie Garland, could you call her?
Just 1 minute. We're waiting for Stephanie if she's still here.
There she is. Wave to us, Stephanie. You know, it is with great sadness that I announce that Stephanie Garland, who has been reporting, coming out here and entertaining us for many, many years. Today is the last meeting she's going to cover. And I just wanted to say publicly that you have been amazing at the way you've done, the way you perform, very professional. I know you're going on to greener pastures. I believe you're going to anchor some station somewhere.
Wichita Falls.
That's right, Wichita Falls. But I just wanted to thank you for all you've done for us and wish you the best and Godspeed. And again, take care.
Thank you, Stephanie. You have been a jewel. Let's move on to number 8, which is discussion of proposing an ordinance designating truck routes within the city limits of the city of San Angelo and providing direction to staff. Patrick Frevich, you are on, sir.
Good morning, Mayor, council members. What we're here today for is to look for your preference and guidance concerning the truck traffic within our city. As you're well aware, the economic patterns today have drastically changed the amount of commercial traffic that we see within our city limits. So what we wanted to do as staff is look for something that allowed routes within our key points of our city to actually guide that commercial traffic. What we don't want to do is we don't want to negatively impact any economic development. Work with planning and zoning and development in order to achieve that. We want to appropriately direct these vehicles on roadways designated for their usage that are designed for that kind of traffic. We want to positively affect the community and the quality of life for our residents, especially concerning noise, congestion, traffic, pollution, those type of issues. And we want to maximize our street maintenance funding and our street improvement funding that y'all have allocated to us for the next few years. And we want to allow proper enforcement of these restrictions. We want to make sure we work in that caveat as well. Currently, a little bit of history on where we're at right now. all classes of vehicles, everything from a Class 1 to a Class 8 truck, are allowed on any classification of our streets. We do have an exception of that. There's 40 road segments within the city that by ordinance truck traffic are not allowed upon. And usually those are load-bearing restrictions, as they are right now. Just so you know and you're well aware, we do have a master thoroughfare plan that basically details out the type of roadways that we have within our city between arterials, collectors, parkways, and local streets. And as they are currently, and as we plan and develop and move forward in the future, we can go to a map for that if y'all wish to see it, or we can continue on. Just for example, some of the roadways there that you can see underneath each of those designations, so you can kind of put a face with a name there per se, as we go through this. Some of the driving forces that got staff involved in this and got us thinking toward this. Number one is council's priority for this year of street improvements and street maintenance. Those dollars are few and far between, and we want to maximize those dollars. So what we've done as staff is we wanted to come up with a way to maximize that funding and really secure an ROI on the money that we are putting into those streets and maximize that return on our investments. We want to increase the industrial. We have increased industrial and commercial business traffic within our city. We've seen a lot more trucks coming through town. That is no secret. And we've also received an exponential increase in the number of complaints from residents within the city, talking about trucks driving through their residential neighborhoods and providing some concerns for them, or creating some concerns by them. We've seen an increase in parking on vacant lots and streets within our residential neighborhoods. Now, currently, this is already taken care of in the ordinance. We do have an ordinance that addresses that specific nature. Unfortunately, even though the ordinance is in place, it's still happening, and it's happening at an increased level. So, we're also seeing an expedited failure of our roadways. As you well know, everyone that drives down our roads know that they're coming apart, and they're coming apart at a very fast rate. And like I said earlier, we want to maximize the amount of effort that our crews and our money is going toward to improve these streets, and we want to pull down that amount of time that we want to come back, that we have to come back and do repairs on these streets. What we found in our research and our studies is that a lot of municipalities have designated truck routes. What this is it's a system of roadways that are well defined and well publicized for truck traffic, given a specific GVW for those GVWR, gross vehicle weight rating. For those for those type of vehicles to travel upon. So, and what we found throughout the different code of ordinances that we've looked at is they vary. They vary everywhere from 14,000 GVW to a 33,000 GVW, and I can pull up a chart that'll help kind of give you a visual of that as well here in a second. What we want to do is we want to get your preference, get your buy-in, and kind of guide us as staff as we move forward in creating an ordinance and doing just that, creating a designated truck route to ferry our truck traffic both efficiently and effectively through our town while maintaining the current condition of our streets in the best possible manner. One of the first things that we need to address is what kind of truck traffic do we want to limit. There's various ratings here. And if you look kind of at a chart, it'll give you a breakdown, and I can zoom in on that if y'all wish, of the different classes of trucks. Some municipalities have limited the 14,000 GVW trucks. What that does is that catches your F450 type trucks, but it eliminates your F550 type trucks, your work trucks. It eliminates your delivery trucks of sorts. There's a 26,000 GVW is kind of that next route, where what we feel would be most effective and most allowable is probably around that 33,000 GVW trucks. That's your big trucks. That's your heavy stuff. That's your truck traffic that is doing the most damage to our local streets that aren't designed for that type of truck traffic. So we'll get your buy-in on that, kind of where you want to place that threshold at as we move forward. We also want to get your buy-in on what kind of routes do we want to limit these trucks to. Our arterials, our major arterials and our minor arterials are our best designed streets. They're designed with the highest level of specification in order to accommodate the highest amount of weight and the most traffic. They're designed to ferry that type of traffic between your highest use areas of town, and that's what they're specifically designed to do. You come down from that, you have major and minor collectors, which their primary role is to get the traffic to the arterials from more of the outlying areas. A little lower amount of specifications, a little more prone to damage from these type of vehicles. But again, there's going to be some collectors that we will want to include that, but we would like to do is leave those as an exception, not as the norm, as we move forward with this ordinance. Again, this thing can be as restrictive or as liberal as you wish. There's some cities that have designated a truck route that's basically across through the middle of town. It gets you through town one way, east, west, north, south. There's other ones that are much more liberal and kind of let you traverse the town to those designated zoning areas. Obviously, where there's going to be some exceptions as we go through here, we're not trying to impede anybody's business. If you're a delivery guy, if you pick up materials on a regular basis and that's your business and that's what you need to do, we don't want to inhibit that. We want to support that. What we want to do is allow that and kind of try to direct that through the ordinance so that you are primarily staying on the streets that are designed for this and not on the streets that are gonna have the biggest effect of your weight. So there's going to be some special exceptions to this. We would like to get your buy-in on what those exceptions need to be and how we need to go about through that. If that's a application and approval process for those specific type of exceptions and what those exceptions may be as we move forward. We also want to work into this some type of framework and criteria for future review and expansion. As our city grows, as our city develops, those zoning classifications are constantly changing. What we want to do is make sure that as that develops, this ordinance can develop as well and grow with that, and have that very specific criteria for which staff can work off of in order to properly implement this ordinance. And again, enforcement. Ordinances are worthless without enforcement. So we want to make sure that our police department can properly enforce what we have on the books, and that it's very easily defined, very easily identified, and that they can do their jobs effectively and such. We have had discussions with both planning and zoning. We've had discussions with TxDOT. We've had discussions with PD, kind of getting their buy-in, and we'll work closely with those departments as well as we move forward with this based on your recommendations and your wishes as we go forward. So with that, I'll let y'all fire away and kind of give us some guidance on what y'all want.
You want to start us, Rodney?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's your recommendation on the weight that you would like to see?
The easy way to do it, to designate right now, is to really specifically work off of our master thoroughfare plan. Those arterial roads are already well defined, they're already well planned for, and that's the plan that we use as we move forward in our development. So if we can take that established plan and implement it and stick to those arterials, those major arterials, minor arterials, and allow those as the designated truck routes, it's already in place, they're already designed for that, and that's going to be the easiest route for us to go. Again, we still want to specifically look at that plan and work with it with our zoning map, in conjunction with our zoning map, to make sure we're not eliminating any of that industrial commercial zones, right, and not allowing for that kind of traffic to get to those areas as well.
Let me ask you this question. If we would have had this in place for the Hill Street the project we just went over, would this have kept them from being able to do that like on?
No, one of the truck routes that come through would have been Bryant Avenue, so they would have had a.
But they have to go off of Bryant.
But they are making pickups and deliveries.
Okay.
That would have qualified in the exception side of it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Johnny?
Patrick, just a couple of questions. First, on the parking in vacant lots, is that happening all over town?
That's all over town, yes,
All over
sir.
town? I kind of figured it was. And then also looking at the major arterial column there, refresh my memory, Chadburn Street, is that a state highway or is it city? City?
That's city. There's a portion of it that is state, but it's primarily through city as we come through.
What portion is state?
As you come in on the north side of town and come in to Avenue L, I believe.
Can you repeat
Right.
that for the
Avenue L, okay.
Avenue L North is state. We have from Avenue
South.
Avenue L South is state.
And then I would also assume that Armstrong is state?
Armstrong is state, yes, sir.
So of course Avenue L, Avenue N, that's city?
Correct.
Correct? I just didn't know about the maintenance portion of it, but you just answered my question.
Right.
On Chadburn Street it'd be.
Right, and TxDOT has a very clearly defined set of recommendations and guidelines that they go through for this type of ordinance. TxDOT cannot limit any type of vehicle on any of their streets. But what they do allow is they allow municipalities within their jurisdiction to create an ordinance doing just that. So TxDOT can't limit, but our jurisdiction we can.
Can we make Bell Street state? Just with, can we, Shane?
That would be nice, but I think the conversation has tried to go the other way.
It doesn't hurt to ask. It doesn't hurt to ask.
That's right.
Thank you.
Charlotte?
Could you go to your map that you provided with us? And
Thank you
help-
for providing the map, Patrick.
Yes, thank you. And explain to me how I'm reading the map to make absolutely certain. I want to ask you the red lines on your thoroughfare plan. What do those indicate on your map again?
The red lines are the arterials. The minor arterials and the
purple.
Orange and red are your major and your minor arterials. And then
Okay.
your blues are your
I am concerned about the truck traffic down College Hills and down Southwest Boulevard. And I don't understand why. I mean, I understand for stores and deliveries, but you know, if we've got the loop there and we've got Knickerbocker, why do the trucks have to go through down Southwest and down College Hills? Why can't they stay on the loop till they get to Knickerbocker to go out to Twin Mountain? I don't understand why we should allow them to go down Southwest Boulevard because of the school zones and the heavy residential areas.
Southwest Boulevard is currently designated as a collector, or it is an arterial. I'm thinking Southland. That is the preference. I mean, if we want to direct those trucks down the loop, down Knickerbocker to Twin Mountain, we absolutely can.
Why
That's the type
wouldn't
of
we,
direction.
is what I'm asking you. To me, it seems like it would be considerably safer for the school zones, the bus pickups, the traffic, you know, that goes down Southwest, even though this morning trying to come to council there at Knickerbocker, the pile up and the jam up coming off of the loop's just unbelievable. But the truck traffic is so heavy down Southwest. They're going down Southwest to get to Twin Mountain, to cut across, you know, to the loop. Why don't they stay on the loop to get to Knickerbocker? Can't we, how does the rest of the council feel about that, or if there's a need?
That's the kind of direction we're looking for.
That's
from
your
you guys.
direction.
I live out there. I drive it, and I get the complaints. And, you know, the truck traffic that goes down College Hills, poor old College Hills is as bad as Bell Street. Almost. I will submit that Bell Street's worse, but not quite as bad. But I just don't see why, since we've got the loop, it is state maintained, that we don't confine the trucks to that area.
And we can definitely take a look at that and provide those type of routes as an exception instead
Because
of
the
route.
trucks are even now turning, off of 67 onto Southland and turning right to get over to Twin Mountain, and the truck traffic right through the school zone and right through the heavy residential area district. And if you look at all of those streets in the residential area, they all dump into Southland. Southland. So you've got trucks, you've got RVs pulling boats, and you've got all those sizes mixed in with little school kids getting off of buses, and it doesn't make a blooming bit of sense to me.
No.
And it's unsafe.
And that's one of the appeal of the designated route, is to provide that safety issue in those areas, those type of areas.
I would like to remove the trucks from that area for pure safety reasons.
We will definitely work that in.
Thank you.
Don, what is your resolution on this?
Well, I've got several things. One is, how would this affect our rodeo crowd? Because the way that I look at your map, you don't have anything around the Coliseum, any way for them to get there short of a helicopter.
We do have 50th Street that comes in, so right there beside the Coliseum.
But
No,
this
it
isn't
wouldn't.
Patrick's map. This is the thoroughfare
Yeah,
plan.
This is the
yeah,
thoroughfare plan.
I know. I don't
We
mean to
could have
fuss
a
at you.
rodeo plan for you.
Yeah.
We should.
And because, those guys, they're trucking in through there
Right.
like crazy.
And that's one thing I want to make sure that we do is we take care of the big picture and not try to limit ourselves to specific entities or specific events. We can take those into consideration, but this is a master plan,
Yeah.
and to direct the whole.
Well, and along with that, if you'll keep the rodeo in mind, also in my district is we have the sand facility. Those trucks are going to need to be getting in there to do that on Bell Street. Bell Street doesn't look like it's a problem, but we're going to need to address, once they get off of Bell Street right there.
Caldwell, Hughes, pickup and delivery.
Right, absolutely. And then recreational vehicles, they're growing all the time as far as being pulled down through here too. I know that's addressed now. Are we going to leave that?
That is where we'll seek your guidance on what do we want to restrict.
Okay.
Do we want to restrict the 33,000 GVW that primarily targets your tractor trailers, your concrete trucks, those type of vehicles? Or do we want to pull it back to where your 12-yard dump trucks, your heavy utility vehicles, even some of your commercial landscape type of crews that are classified in that 26,000 GVW just to stay within the law would be regulated at that point, so.
And then, like I said, I know in the ordinance now for delivery, concrete trucks and those sort of things can pull right up to your drive, and that wouldn't be prohibited, I'm assuming.
They would not, no. Construction activities, pickups, deliveries, again, would be the exception. Now, what we would like to work in with that exception is a caveat that you take the most direct route in and the direct route out,
Right.
in order to alleviate as much of that traffic as we can.
Now, I've got the real dinger for you. I had a gentleman that collects Army surplus trucks and cleans them up and shows them.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't want his vehicles to be ticketed when he's going out of town to shows. So, I know you can't make an exception to everything. Yeah, but by the same token, I think there needs to be a little common sense in the ordinance so that for these sort of things that you don't see every day.
Again, I had a tab in there of exceptions, and do we want to allow an application for special circumstances, special exceptions, and who that designated party would need to be in order to do that. So we can work in that application process if somebody such as that has that type of issue, because those are going to come up, and we
Right.
don't.
I never even thought of that, nor did I know that there was such a person in town. So,
Good.
okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Elizabeth?
I'm very interested in this. I think that we're seeing a lot of traffic in our neighborhood that's either lost, misguided. I don't know why we have sand trucks on Avenue J or Avenue L, but it happens. And probably in other areas of the community, same problem. Somebody looking for an easier way and they get lost. But regardless of that, looking at the thoroughfare plan, of course, this wasn't put together to speak to iron truck traffic.
Right.
It's meant to be a network of streets that helps move vehicular traffic through the community as our community grows. So I think using this for a basis is good, but it can be problematic in some of the areas like Rodney mentioned. It doesn't speak to zoning classification and shouldn't be confused as that. But I think that we definitely need truck routes. I think that we definitely need to say whether or not it's something that's easy to enforce, that we don't allow truck traffic in residential areas. And, College Hills and some of the other streets that are primarily there to serve the residential neighborhoods on either side is, again, an example of where there should never be truck traffic unless it's delivering a refrigerator that you just bought, a moving van, or something like that. So I'm definitely for this, and as judicious as we can be with it, I think it should also be very straightforward, but easily enforced or easily clear as to what we're communicating.
Correct. And our intention with this is to provide that information very readily, either on our website or through a map of sorts, so that it can easily be referenced by those companies and by those drivers to come up so that they know where they need to be and what they're allowed to do. So,
Charlotte?
That brings to mind something that I've witnessed and I've heard about is trash. Is there any way to govern and to include in this people hauling trash, whether it's a private hauler or whomever? I know we have an ordinance that says things are to be covered. I've been driving and dodging limbs coming off of trucks and trailers that are on access roads or down the loop, but can it be covered in this to address especially these private contractors who think they can haul and use bigger rigs to pick up trash from various construction sites? Can that be addressed? Will it be addressed and clarified? And then the other thing is GPS mapping. I know that when I travel to it's an irritant to go to Dallas-Fort Worth in my GPS, and I know the way to go, and the map keeps telling me I need to go this way. Is there a way to control trucks to let them know in the GPS that this truck traffic is not permissible? And the reason I asked that is I was on Wildwood Street on Forest Trail, and a huge delivery truck, roaring up, Wildwood down Forest Trail, and so I went to where he stopped and I asked him what made him come through the residential to get back to the store. That's where his GPS sent him. And that's so incorrect. Is there a way that we can address that?
I completely understand. I'm a GPS driver myself, so
okay.
I don't, when she tells me to turn right, I turn right. So I don't question her. I'm very good at taking advice.
But can you control that, or can you input data to assist these truckers to keep? That's what I'm asking.
That is something that I've actually thought of. Look, I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know how. I'm sure it is. It's got to be, because currently right now your GPS will accommodate for construction and for traffic congestion and whatnot. So
automatically.
We just need to find out, as staff, do the research and find out how we can incorporate that into a GPS system.
And the other thing is when 29th crosses to Edmonton and Glenna.
Yes.
It's a cut across shortcut. There again, it's right through school districts, right through housing. The traffic on that road, the soccer fields, they should be going to the loop and not cutting across at 87. And I personally would like to see that happen. I don't want the big heavy truck traffic through there.
We can do that.
Thank you.
Well, I'm the last one. I like the 33,000 GVW. We don't want to make this thing so restrictive that trucks can't get on the road and our police can't enforce it. 33 GVW, that would pick up the 18-wheelers?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's the ones I'm trying to restrict. I know they're coming down my road. I live on a little 18-foot lane, and they're using it as a shortcut. And that's what they're doing in most instances, using it as a shortcut. I'd like to keep the 18-wheelers out.
Yes, sir.
Of course, the residential areas, they don't have any business in a residential area unless they're making a pickup or delivery. So I would say let's set this at 33,000 as a minimum. Maybe, what do you think, Corby? Even 46,000? I think 33. I don't want to go any less than 33 because we're restricting too much, and it's. I don't. That's not what we don't want to make it punitive. We just want to make our neighborhood safe. So that would be mine, and keep them out of the resident. Put signs up. This is not a truck route, or trucks prohibited unless delivery. And that would be my concerns. Anyone else care to weigh in on this before we open it up to the public? Daniel?
Mayor, the only thing, you just hit the nail on the head, as a matter of fact. My concern is just, let's not complicate this thing, and if we start adding additional weight classes, then, you really come up with a complex system that's going to be very hard to enforce, and we want to make sure that for the police officers that are having to enforce, that it is a simplified process. But I do, again, that's something, I know you've done a lot of research on this as well, Patrick. Cities do they have multiple weight classes, or is it typically one or two?
There was one city that I did look up that had multiple classes and multiple routes for each of those classes.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you, reading through that ordinance, it was difficult.
Okay.
It was very
Here.
difficult.
Let's start simply. If we have a problem, then we address it
Yeah,
later.
then we can fix it. And I think 33,000 GVW would take care of Don's problem with the military vehicles, so we wouldn't have a problem there. But
Can I ask Corby a question?
you may.
Can you tell us right now about enforcement of 18-wheelers that might be left overnight in residential areas? Are y'all having a problem with that? Are you enforcing that?
When we get a call, we'll go address it. And several years ago, actually, when you were the assistant city manager, we discussed this. So what we did as an enforcement side is if it's parked on a public roadway or operated on a public roadway in violation of state law or ordinance, then we'll take care of it. If it is parked on private property or city property, then Mr. Flores at Code Enforcement is usually in charge of doing those. So we kind of split up those duties as far as that goes. I still get a few calls, but I don't get a bunch. Again, when I do get them, we go address them, and usually it's taken care of. But we do still have a lot of these trucks parking in a vacant lot next to their homes. And some of the ordinance that I've read here, it can be permitted or it won't be permitted. It just depends on council's direction on those. But when they are permitted, they're usually done with consent of those people in the neighborhood.
And as far as these trucks parking on lots, I think it's 15 hours that these truck drivers can drive, and they have to stop and sleep. I'd rather have them parked on a public lot and sleeping than I had driving 24 hours. So, we don't want to create another problem there either.
Right. Well, of course, we've added so much more truck traffic in the last 3 years, so of course we need to address it. One of the complaints that I told Mr. Ferricker about is I get a call from a couple of people that live on Cordell Street, which is right behind HEB. So the big truck tractors come in and make their stops and deliveries, and then they go down Cordell because it's the easiest way to get out. Well, it's a nuisance, and we need to restrict those.
Yes,
and I think what this ordinance will do is instead of having a list of 40 where they can't go, we give them a permission where they can go, and everything else is restricted. I think it'll clean up the language and encompass it better than what we do have currently.
Be easier for you to enforce as well.
Much easier.
Yeah.
Let's open it up to public comment. Is there anyone from the public that'd like to weigh in on this? This is your opportunity. Come ahead, Jim.
My name is Jim Turner. Dealing with the technical matter of GPS and like that, one of the sections that probably needs to be coordinated with then is the GIS department within the city. They are involved with mapping, and they're the source that your map companies that do the navigation, they are the people that they would go to get the information on anything dealing with maps for this city. And they're also going to be involved in anything that goes up to the state as far as maps, the 911 system, all of that type of stuff. So they need to be involved in this process as an information resource and as a conduit to get this to the companies that are involved in GPS, things like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comment on this? Patrick, do you have direction that you need?
I think we've got a pretty good.
You can put something together and bring it back to us, and
Yes,
then,
sir.
then
Yes,
we
sir.
can
We'll-
dissect it
We'll
and
put
you can do
together
it
a draft
again.
ordinance and bring it back to you guys.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for your help.
Well, Joel, since Trinidad's been sitting out there so patiently, and Harry, could we go ahead and take item number 10 next, and let's get him out?
Sure.
Yes.
Number 10 is discussion of items related to the 2015 Charter Review Committee of the City of San Angelo. Presentation by Chairman Trinidad Aguirre and Vice Chairman Harry Thomas. I know you've enjoyed the meeting.
It's been a wonderful meeting. And Harry, you would join me. Well, first off, I like to keep things very simple. So what I'd like to do is, is the presentation up, or how do we get the presentation on the screen? Always ask for technical help instead of ruining it.
That's the way you do it.
He already broke it.
It's already broken. Pushing all the right buttons except.
There it is.
Let's go to the next one. Okay, the reason that we're here, this is an informational update. What we'd like to do is that since the city council had requested a refresh of our city charter, we have now met. Everything is in place. We've got our members. We've got some direction. We're still going to be looking for more direction after this meeting. So everything is a go at this point from our standpoint. And what we'd like to do is inform not only you, the mayor and the council, but inform the public as to what we're doing. The first thing we did is you assigned a 7-member charter review committee. All 7 of us are on board, and I'll address who those individuals are in a few minutes. We will be looking at the entire charter. So everything is open to review, and we will be looking at each and every word in it. So there are no restrictions when we talk about the charter review. One of the key components that we came up with in our first meeting is that it is an open forum. Everything will be public, and what we'd like to do is to ensure that we do solicit input not only from our citizens, but from you, Mayor, the council. We're working very closely with Daniel and his staff and other stakeholders like the Lake Nasworthy Board. There may be some realtors, so we will be working with different entities out there to make sure that if there's any special considerations we need to take a look at, that we get in their input. We have established a website. It's www.cosatx.us. Charter Review Committee. It is a run-in word. And so from that standpoint, everything we do will be on the website, so you will be able to go to the website, and it will also open a better form of communication. You will know what we're doing after every meeting, and you will know what we're planning to do as well. Legal is very important in our process. We will make sure that each and every word that we look at and or change, every paragraph, prior to bringing it to fruition or any other place, we will seek legal counsel and to ensure that we have not jeopardized any law or anything that is out there in place today. Public information forums, we heard a lot about today. What we will be, the way that we will be utilizing those is we will do some exceptions, but for the most part, I'd like to go to each of the city council. I know, Elizabeth, you have yours. I'd like to get on your calendar when you're out there and ensure that either myself, Harry, or someone from our staff is out there as well, so that we can ensure that, everyone in your respective districts are very well informed of what's going on. As far as the committee members, I'm very proud of this team. I think you guys did an excellent job. There's a lot of synergies out there when we take a look at who's on the committee, as well as a very diverse background. We've got attorneys, real estate, we've got education, corporate, and then we've got entrepreneurs. So from the aspect of diversification with the members, I think that it's a very good set, and I think that we'll be able to get some good information from all entities. All of these committee members are well respected, both within their community and also within their profession. But let's back up a little bit. What is a city charter? What we're looking at is basically a city charter is a city's constitution. It is not an ordinance. Ordinances fall beneath the city charter, And so I'll address that as we go into it. But a charter defines the basic structure of the city government. It defines how the mayor will perform his duties, how the council will perform his duties, how the police will perform their duties. So it is a very high level, very important document that governs our city. And the key thing on a charter is that, we will always adhere first to the federal, to the state, and then to the city charter, and then to the ordinances. So we do have a very well order of respect that we have to follow anytime that, we start looking at our own city charter to make sure that we are not in violation of either the state or the federal documents. When we take a look at the actual charter in itself, what I like to call it is the most important 20 pages of San Angelo. And when you take a look at it, when I first looked at the document and everyone was telling me that, there was 69 sections in the document, and it was, the way that it was explained to me, I started thinking hundreds and hundreds of pages. In reality, it's only 20 pages. It's very well outlined, very well written. I think there are some things in there that we will look at, with direction from the stakeholders that we mentioned prior. But at the same token, what we want to come back and take a look at is identify which are the most critical. An important part of us that we'll be taking a look at when we look at this is the quantity of units that we can change. Remember that we have to take this to a vote. And if we get into a very verbose or a very large number of sections that we're going to have to change, what will happen is we will lose the voters. So we're very respectful of, when it comes to election time, that everyone is very well informed. Updating our charter, why are we doing this? First off, I think that, it was a request from you. But the last one was done in 2007. We've had, I won't say tremendous growth, but we have had significant growth in San Angelo, and it's time to get the charter to reflect some practices that need to be modified. We talked about some of them today in today's meetings. We have looked at our charter, and some of them do have some conflict with Texas and federal laws, and they reference some laws that need to be modified, so we'll be looking at each one of those. There's still some fixed dollar amounts in there and some fixed numbers. That has me a little bit concerned, because anytime you have a fixed number, you can't modify it, through the city government or through yourselves as we need to at times. So we'll be looking at those fixed numbers. If we feel they need to be changed, we'll make whatever modifications we feel are justified. And then, from Daniel's perspective, we need to promote better management, operation, and accountability, for his staff. So we need to give better direction, and then as the ordinances are brought to you, you can provide guidance to Daniel. Now, here's the sticky part for us, and what I've done is, as I do all events, I like to work backwards, and I like to take a look at what is the key date that is the most important date in the project that I'm undertaking, or that we as a team are undertaking. And it was in working with Brian and the rest of the members, the key date for us is August 18th. So that is the last date that I can bring to you for you to pass the resolution, in order for us to have time to get everything in place to put it on the ballot for November. So I backed up from August 18th. And so that what that does is, by August the 4th, I have to bring to you, and when I say I, and I'm very careful that I mean my team. So it should say we, but just to clarify that, what we need to bring to you by August the 4th is all of the changes that have been reviewed, and we need to bring it to you for your first approval, or for your first look. July 29, well, let me back up. I think I've got my dates there, so I want to be very clear on them. And I'm going to work backwards just so that we're clear to everyone. From January to July, we'll be looking at the entire city charter. July 29th, we will finalize our document, and we'll bring to you for your final recommendation. We will get data back up to you. On August the 4th is when you're going to provide to us either go, no go on those changes we've made, and on August 18th, we'll ask for you to pass the resolution. And then from that time till November, what we will be doing as a team, we will be engaging in a lot of a lot of open forums. We'll be meeting with all of the stakeholders, and we'll ensure that everything is in place so that we can get the appropriate vote to pass those resolutions or to pass those changes, modifications that we have made to the actual charter in itself. Harry, you...
Just a couple of quick comments. This team is very diverse, as Trinidad said, very engaged, but we only have 6 months. But we know that we can't bring too many items to the voting public. So we are really going to look at the entire charter, but we probably are not going to be able to change every period, comma, or whatever needs to be changed in it this time around. So we, as a team, as a committee, will be looking at a very high level of those items that are in conflict with any state laws that have changed and anything that we really need to bring up. As Trinidad said, we want to specifically try to get away from specific numbers if we can do that, because if you leave numbers in, then you have to come back every 2 years and look at changing it again. We need the public's input, we need the council's input, so we would encourage all of you here to contact us, have the public contact you or contact us directly, have a conversation with Brian and he can get information to us, but we really want to be this an entire community event. We want everybody's input on it. Last thing we want to say is we want to say thank you. Thank you to the council for selecting the 7 of us. We know it's a big charge, but we appreciate your confidence, and we want to say that we will be very active in moving forward on this.
We've got a good group. I agree with you, Trini. We've got a good group here, and I know that you're going to be looking at it closely, and there's a lot of things need to be straightened up, and you boys got a big charge here. You've got to look at it, straighten it up. Do I have any start with Elizabeth?
Question: if it's so difficult to rewrite what could be considered an antiquated format, would it be easier to start over?
We did. One of the recommendations that we had from our first meeting was specifically that, is there an area that does require a start over? We have looked, and Brian did provide some of the other cities' charters, and we're looking at those as well. But that is something that is on the table. We have not taken anything off the table at this time. But tomorrow will be our first meeting that we're going to be really diving into the actual document itself. But that is not off the table.
Okay, thank you.
Don?
What time tomorrow and where are you meeting?
We're meeting on the second floor of the City Hall.
Okay.
And it's just, what do you call that, Daniel? Just your second floor?
Second floor conference room as well.
Second floor conference room.
3 o'clock?
3 o'clock.
Okay. The reason I was wanting to throw that out there in case there is citizens that have something going that they want to bring before you, they'll kind of know where you are. Also, along with that, are you planning on meetings weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, so that the citizens will know when y'all are meeting?
What we've done is we have a monthly scheduled meeting. It'll be the first Wednesday of every month. And then what we will do is, based on the input that we get from that meeting, we will come back up and have special meetings to address certain sections. Of course, we'll work with Brian to make sure that we meet all of the commitments that, in order to have a meeting such as this. But we do have one scheduled meeting per month with subsequent meetings depending on what data we need.
Okay, good deal. Thank you.
Charlotte?
Yes, since this is a lot has to do with housekeeping and bringing up to date, my first housekeeping request is on your city council requested a refresh of the city charter. Next to the last item, legal department will review and approve all changes. And I would rather that state and be very clear going in that legal department will review and submit changes to council and city manager. They're not approved till they come to council, and I just want to make that clear. And on your slide after that, my last name is Farmer, and it just says farm. And if grindstaff can be spelled out, I think farmer can be spelled out. I am a stickler.
You can take my letters and give
I
them
will
to
take
her.
her
It'll be
letters,
fine.
make it farm staff.
That's what happens when you cut and paste.
Yes.
I did not do the review. And as far as the legal, to answer that, you're correct. We understand. What we had done is prior to us even bringing it to city council, we want to make sure that we haven't something that violated.
I
upfront.
understand that, but so much is placed on council members' shoulders is our fault, our direction, and our authority. And
Understood.
if I'm going to blame for it,
Point taken. Thank you.
okay, thank
They
you.
were blaming Rodney.
We're going to blame Rodney.
And the meetings that you have will be open to the public, and public comment will be allowed.
That is correct.
Okay, that's the only point I had to make. Johnny?
And I think you answered my question, because when you talked about community input, where in the timeline was that going to fit? So it'll fit at every meeting that you have, you'll let the public know somehow, or?
That is correct. The public is welcome at each and every one of our meetings. They'll also, we'll start working with Daniel's, it would be with Anthony and whomever, to ensure that we're getting the word out. So we will be working with the media as required to ensure that if there is something out there that everyone needs to know, we will keep them informed. But the best source is going to be Brian. I mean, we will work through him very closely.
Just real quickly, as Brian reminded me, there were members of the public and members of the media in our first meeting, and we anticipate that will continue through every meeting that we have.
It's a good point. Rodney? No. Do I have public comment on this item before anyone wish to weigh in on this? If not, Trinidad, Harry, thank you very much. You've got a good plan there.
Good job.
Thank you.
Good job. We appreciate you, fellas. Let's move on to number 9, which is the first public hearing and introduction of an ordinance amending the 2014-2015 budget for new projects, incomplete projects, capital projects, and grants. You are on, Ms. Morgan.
Thank you, Mayor. As we're speaking about housekeeping, I just have a few items here before you today. I'll just go through them one by one if it's your pleasure, and you'll certainly stop me if you have any questions or comments. The first item before you for consideration, well, the total budget amendment before you today is for a total of $939,776. There's revenue to offset that by $640,535. So I'll outline which one of those are drawing down fund balances as they relate to these. The first is the additional full-time equivalents. This is what was discussed with the council November 18th and approved. So it's $166,055 in expenditures, drawing down the fund balance for the general fund and the solid waste fund, so as discussed at that November 18th meeting. The next item is an increase in the WIC grants. So $47,000 increased revenue and increased expense. This will go back into their programming and salaries and operating dollars. It's basically the DSHS increased our per participant rate to bring that grant revenue up to a needed increase. The next item is increased group insurance. When we budgeted for group insurance, we weren't sure what was going to happen with that exactly, and we had an amount set aside in the general fund for those funds I call general fund dependent. For example, Fort Concho, Texas Bank Sports Complex, the general fund basically transfers out to help support the salary and benefits for those. So this is just the housekeeping, moving it out of the general fund into those relevant funds, almost $32,000 in total. The next item there is the North Chadbourn Streetscape Grant. This is the New Freedom Grant of $506,000. This was approved by the council to apply for and accept October 4th of 2011. We just needed to budget for it, so this will get that in place so that project can move forward. The local match is already budgeted on that. The next item is state office building improvements. There's been a small change in the accounting for these projects as a landlord and to work with those tenants for small improvements that need to occur. We spend about $50,000 a year for 2 to 3 projects that come up, just minor improvements that need to occur so that those tenants may continue to offer services. We get 100% reimbursement for those afterwards from the state, so it's revenue neutral. It will just be $50,000 in expense, $50,000 in revenue for those items as they come up. The next item there is solid waste billing charges. As we adopted that new contract and it was a very quick turnaround to adopt the budget for this fund. And so this is one just house cleaning item. Nothing new that was added to the contract, just something that was overlooked in the budget process. So $133,000 increased expense in that fund. And the final item before you is Fort Concho computers. Bob is getting a donation of almost over $4,500 for new and replacement of computers that are needed out there. So again, revenue neutral for the Fort Concho Fund.
Somebody want to, you want to start, Charlotte?
No, yeah, the billing and collection service expense that wasn't in the original budget and the proposed change, what is that again?
It's the billing, it's the billing charge for providing the utility bills to be sent out to those customers. It's handled a little differently in each utility fund, so there was some confusion on, is there an expense to the solid waste fund? And there always has been, we just didn't budget for it in the way that we have in the past.
What was that previous amount? In past years, we would have budgeted as well, right?
It's been as much as $170,000. $133,000 is what we project it to be this year. It's based on a percentage of amount billed. So all of the utility billing services, customer service and utility billing is handled, basically funded by the water department. But then the water department recoups the expense for the portion that is solid waste, for the portion that is wastewater.
Okay, can you tell me what the collection service percentage has been? You know, we're paying this amount, how successful have they been in collecting for what we're paying?
This is to recoup our own service, our own employees' time. I believe it's a 4% charge on the volume billed. So to know the collection rate of who's actually paying the bills, is that what you're asking?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I don't have that.
Because there's no rent.
Okay. I really would like to know
Sure, we can get
their
you that
success
information.
rate for what we're paying.
Somebody want to move to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a second from Johnny. Elizabeth made the motion.
Mayor, before you
Yes,
move
sir.
on, I do want to, last week, Monday and Tuesday, we're in Dallas. Morgan and Tina, Michael, myself, we did meet with a credit rating agency that did compliment us on our budget. They were very complimentary on the interview that we had with the credit rating agency. And I just want to thank Morgan and Tina and Michael for the outstanding work that they did. We are hoping that we can have a credit rating increase, but definitely we'll stabilize it where we are. So again, just an outstanding job. I want to thank them openly.
Thank
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
our stellar credit rating saved us $82,000 a year, a month. What was the savings? $82,000 a month when we refinanced, right, Tina? 60. Yeah. Okay.
$819,000.
Yes, sir. So, I agree with him. Y'all are doing a good job.
That's all.
I do have a motion. I do have a second. If I don't have any further comment, I'm going to call for the vote. All in favor of accepting as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Put a 6-0 on that one.
Thank you.
It is 11:51.
I do want to compliment our manager on his new laptop. It's beyond antiquated, so I'm proud.
Font's too small. I
This
can't
is-
read it.
The screen works pretty good, though.
Let me read the executive closed session, and then we will break. Executive session under the Division of Government Code Title V, Open Government Ethics, Subtitle A, Open Government Chapter 551, Open Meeting Subchapter D, exceptions to requirement that meetings be open under the following section. Section 5510712, consult with attorney on a matter in which the duty of the attorney of the governmental body of the Texas Disciplinary Rules, Professional Conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with this chapter regarding 1. To consult with attorney regarding West Texas Water Partnership, and number 2, matters related to development agreements between the City of San Angelo, City of San Angelo Development Corporation, and Martifer Hirschfield Energy Systems, LLC. Section 551072, to deliberate the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property regarding potential sites for, number 1, a police department, administration building, number 2, relocation of the accounting department. Section 551074A1, to deliberate the appointment of the city clerk. It is 11:52. I now take us into executive, and I'm going to say
Maybe an hour.
an hour, so 11. Let's say we'll be back here by 1 o'clock, and if at 1 o'clock we're still busy, I'll come down and make the announcement, but we should be back by 1 o'clock. That will be our goal.
It is 1:44. I am calling the City Council back to order. Number 11 is consideration and possible action on matters discussed in executive closed session if needed, and there are no items. There was no decisions made. It was simply just instruction.
Mayor, I would like to actually make sure that I congratulate our new city clerk. Brian Kendrick has done a wonderful job in his interim, and it was a unanimous election by the committee that was put together, and again by consent of the council. So again, I want to congratulate Brian for his new position.
Are we going to give him a raise or just raise his title?
We'll raise his title, Mayor.
Okay,
We'll
give him a good long title.
Okay.
Congratulations, Brian.
Thank you, Ben.
Announcements, consideration of future agenda items. Start with you, Elizabeth.
We had a neighborhood meeting last night that was at the same time as the end of the ZBA meeting, but we still had 30 citizens come out for that, some in my district and others not. I just want to thank Rick for helping put that together. Sandra Villarreal did a presentation with Al Torres on the use of gray water, and it was a very interesting conversation to hear her talk about microbes while we were all eating a meal, but interesting just the same. And so again, thank you for doing that. I don't have any new topics. I will contact the city manager about some follow-up on some previously requested information.
Do y'all want any of that gray water discussion done? We've talked about that, whether you wanted it at a council meeting or not. I know there's different concepts of what we're talking about, but this one, can it stop there, or do you want it to go any further?
I don't know if it needs, I would honestly recommend that, that Anthony and Brian look at doing a video.
We agree.
Because I think that would be more, actually more informative.
Okay, we can do it.
Mr. Vardaman.
Staff are working on a couple of my requests, and so at this time, I don't have anything.
Ms. Farmer.
Yes, staff is working on our trash committee meeting with business owners and interested parties on how to address our blowing and forever excessive trash around the city, and I hope that will be starting next week. If you're a business owner out there and you want to participate, please call Shane Kelton at the city to arrange it. He's called and tried to get participation, and if you want to participate in this, you need to get involved. The other item is I have a letter here from one of my constituents with reference to a complaint that he is making on our code enforcement folks, and I'm going to hand it to the city manager, ask him to investigate. There's always two sides to every story, and there's the actual letter from the code enforcement department and the letter of the complaint from the constituent, and ask that it be followed up with mail and possibly email with a copy to me to that complaint. Oh, and here's the letter. It came through.
Charlotte, it has already been addressed, and we'll provide you an update and make sure that the letter did go out also to this gentleman.
Make certain that it did, and I had two disturbing phone calls last week and the week before, different calls, different people on the same subject, and it has to do with our half-cent sales tax monies. And I've assured the callers that the city has done an audit of all of our participants and the compliance nature of the sales tax issues. Their request is, why cannot that audit, since it was third party, be made public so the public would know if we are in compliance or not in compliance? And I'm putting it out there to the council as to why we cannot discuss and to where we are to date and the progress that has been made and future commitments with our half-cent sales tax. I assured the callers that I would bring it forth, and one was my constituent and one was not, so that's what I'm doing for a future agenda item.
Okay, thank you.
Rodney?
In case you missed the fireworks earlier in the meeting, we just want to see if we can get set up a shareholder meeting about the possibility of offering a incentive for low-income housing on Valley View. So hopefully we'll try to get that this week, and we'll post the notice on our website.
Very good.
Mayor,
Yes,
one
ma'am.
last thing. Can we go ahead and maybe look at, if not the next meeting, a future meeting, a resolution that says that we will do that before the city endorses or supports any future applications?
I'll include that in there.
Okay.
Very good.
I think that we even talked about possibly having that in
A
our,
resolution.
in our charter, maybe even.
Don, you might want to put that on the future agenda.
He's on it.
I have nothing. I'm going to call for somebody to help me on number 13.
Adjourn.
Second? All in favor? Aye. We're through.